heard Diane, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Ada, would you read the public notice statement, please?
Yes, good morning and thank you, Mr. President. Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Publics Meeting Act. Notice has been posted at the board's website and has been delivered to the Department of State and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Here.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Here?
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
President Fiorelliso.
Here. And our next regularly scheduled meeting?
Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 15 at 10 a.m. via teleconference.
Okay, thank you, Ada. We will have a late starter, or we do have a late starter on the agenda, which we will be taking action on at the end of the regular session. This matter is related to certain protocols that are being applied to the current health emergency. The board will also be having an executive session, and we will be addressing the following items in executive session, or miscellaneous item A. We will not be taking action on this item as it is a litigation update. Executive session should not last more than 15 minutes. Will the Attorney General's office please explain the justification for going into executive session?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Deputy Attorney General Michael Beck.
Good morning.
Good morning. Miscellaneous item number 9A falls within the exceptions for pending litigation, as well as attorney-client privilege as enumerated in New Jersey Statute 10:4-12B7. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I know my colleagues have the call-in number for the executive session. And I guess everyone else will be put on mute until we return. Correct, Christine?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. We are now in executive session. I'll see you all on the other side. Thank you, Christine. Well, I guess we got back sooner than 15 minutes, and which is good. And I hope everyone has rejoined us. I want to welcome you. Right off the bat, wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Keeping in mind that it's a constant struggle and has been for over 240 years to keep the light of democracy lit. And that is really incumbent upon all of us to make that effort. So happy 4th of July, be safe, and have a Diet Pepsi for me, please. I have a couple of announcements before we go into our agenda. Number one, it's really with mixed emotions that I do announce that Grace Power, our Chief of Staff, will be leaving the board effective tomorrow and pursuing a different course in her professional career. and one that I am excited for her going to. It's a wonderful opportunity for Grace, and I know that she will be as successful there as she has been here at the board. Uh, Grace is one of the important wheels that have kept the Board of Public Utilities turning and in getting us to achieve the many things that we as a family have achieved. I feel like as a family, we're seeing one of our own go off to college or something. And, and, you know, pursuing things that are to their benefit. But it is with a heavy heart because, you know, you work closely with someone for 2.5 years. Many times they become almost really like family. And that's how I've always felt about Grace. And she is a tireless worker. The energy, constant thoughts, a good strategic thinking person, and one that tried to dispense fairness throughout the Board of Public Utilities. And it in those early days in particular, because Grace got there about a month after I became the president, I hired her. And we've been through a great deal over the past 2.5 years. Many highs, I must tell you, but also some lows. But that's how it is, you know. We were, you know, treading in foreign waters to a large extent, and in some cases trying to keep afloat, constantly trying to hire good people, and we were very successful in doing that for the most part. Trying to move an agenda forward with limited staff, trying to, in every way, put the Board of Public Utilities back on the map. And I'm happy to say, and this is, you know, all of my colleagues on the cabinet would say the same thing about their department, so I'm going to say it about mine. Making the Board of Public Utilities one of the most important cabinet positions for the governor. And it's because of the dedication of people like Grace Power. The day never ended at 5:30. We would talk at 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes if necessary. Weekends, didn't matter. I think we both viewed our jobs as 24/7. So it's with a heavy heart that I say, we'll see you down the road, Grace. And hopefully our paths will continue to cross in a positive way. And I know all of you who are listening here join with me in wishing Grace not only success, but happiness in that success as she continues to expand her horizons and make a greater mark on our society as she rises up the ladder. So Grace, stay well. I know you will do well. I know you will be successful. And you know that you have a family at the Board of Public Utilities that will always be there supporting your efforts. So thank you, Grace, for your work. I also want to thank staff, continue to thank staff for their constant work during the COVID crisis. And they help to keep the wheels turning. The next thing I want to announce, and then I'll ask my colleagues if they want to make any comments, is that effective Monday, July 6th, Christine Sadovi will officially assume the position of Chief of Staff. These positions are ones that require trust between the President and the Chief of Staff and require an ability to work closely together because it is a team effort along with my colleagues, a team effort to move the board forward. And not only do we have outstanding commissioners, we have an outstanding staff. And I thank both of you. And Christine, I look forward to working with you officially as the Chief of Staff starting Monday.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to mention that since you brought up the 4th of July and, the great history our country has, I would just like to record another historic moment.
Was born on July 4th. Noreen Giblin was born on July 4th, and so on. So if you happen to correspond with Noreen, wish her happy birthday too. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. President, I just wanted to wish Bob Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, a very happy birthday. Also, I think when you in the context of World War II, you can't leave out Mussolini. So I just want to mention that.
Well, thank you. Did you do that for my benefit or?
No, I think everybody's there. He was a dictator. He was very cruel. So I wanted to let him out. We can't let him
Yes,
off
he
the
was.
hook. Yeah.
Yes, he was, and he got his due at the end, did he not?
Right.
Yeah, well deserved too, I might add.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. If there are no other comments, Madam Secretary, the consent agenda, please.
Thank you, and I'll make this short and sweet. On the following consent agenda items, 1A and 9A.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelliso.
Yes. Boy, that was easy.
That was
Ada.
easy. That was easy.
All right. We will now proceed with the regular agenda. And first up again is Alice, audits.
Actually, it's Bill Foley today, Commissioner.
Oh, hi, Bill. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. I'll try to keep this quick also.
I'm sure you will, Bill. And we'll hit 1A first.
There you go. Before you this morning is agenda item 1A involving a registrant who failed to comply with certain provisions of NJSA 48:3-70 and the New Jersey Administrative Code 14:4-1, Spot 1. Choose Energy, Inc. continued to operate as a registrant after the registration expired due to not filing a renewal application prior to their registration expiration date. In order to resolve the matter of the violation, Choose Energy, Inc. filed an offer of settlement of $8,100 with the board for approval. In addition, Choose Energy, Inc. filed an initial application to be an energy agent for approval. The agenda item before you involves two separate matters on which you will vote. Staff believes the offer of settlement is reasonable based on the alleged violations for the company and recommends that the board accept the offers of settlement brokered by Energy Auction Exchange, LLC, subject to the conditions set forth in the settlement offers and draft orders. Given
Mr.
that
President,
Yes.
I move the approval of the settlement of Choose Energy, Inc.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Choose Energies Incorporated offer of settlement, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiorelliso.
Yes. And now for the registration renewal.
I have moved the approval of the registration application of Choose Energy Inc.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Choose Energy Incorporated's initial registration, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And 1B, basically the same, Bill, correct?
Yes.
Wanna Go through that?
Okay. Before this morning's agenda, 1B involving a registrant who failed to comply with certain provisions of NJSA 48:3-78 and NJAC 14:4-1 Spot 1. Pyxis Energy Generation continued to operate as a registrant after their registration expired due to not filing a renewal application prior to the registration expiration date. In order to resolve the matter of the violation, Pyxis Energy Generation filed an offer of settlement of $350 with the board for approval. In addition, Pyxis Energy filed an initial application to be an energy agent for approval. Staff believes that the offer of settlement is reasonable based on the alleged violations for the company and recommends the board accept the offers of settlement subject to conditions set forth in respective settlement offers and drafts. Given no violations, staff recommends the approval of initial application for Pyxis Energy to be an energy agent.
Okay.
I move the approval of the settlement with Pyxis Energy Generation LLC.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Pyxis Energy Generation offer of settlement, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone. We have one more vote, I think.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
I'd like-
sorry.
yeah,
On
I'd
the
like-
registration, right.
Right. I'd like to
I didn't
move.
want, I didn't want to hear Holden anymore. That's why I cut it off.
Okay. I move the approval of the registration application of Pyxis Energy Generation.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept Pyxis Energy Generation initial registration, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Now, thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah, you too. Stay safe.
Thank you.
One thing I did not mention in my remarks, and that's my bad. Well, actually, two things I didn't mention. The fact that the item in executive session, I said we would not be taking action. Well, we will be taking action. So when we get to that in the agenda, we will be voting on that particular item. And secondly, I wanted to thank my colleagues especially, and everyone who had to make some arrangement changes for moving the meeting to July 2nd. So it actually the day I think the Independence Declaration of Independence was actually signed. So I want to thank everyone for making those adjustments in their schedule and for joining us today. And a special, as I say, thanks to my colleagues. Okay, now we're down to energy, and I think Ms. Holland has the floor for energy.
Yes.
At this point, and we're so happy to hear you, Ms. Holland.
All right. So you can hear me.
Yes, we can this time.
Excellent. Thank you, President Fiordaliso. So item 2A, as you know, this docket was initiated by a petition for declaratory order filed at FERC by the New England Ratepayers Association, or NERA, N-E-R-A. In their petition, NERA requests that FERC declare its exclusive jurisdiction over net metering arrangements because, according to NERA, Net metering arrangements constitute sales for resale under the Federal Power Act. The petition further requests an order declaring that rates for such sales be priced in accordance with the Public Utility Regulatory Policies Act of 1978. This is PURPA, or the Federal Power Act. This matter is of significance to New Jersey because it implicates the board's long-standing net metering program. Board staff isn't alone in being concerned. NARUC has indicated as many as 41 out of 50 states may be impacted. NARUC therefore took an early lead in this docket and prepared very comprehensive comments. Staff was very much involved in that drafting process as part of the NARUC drafting team. And we're very grateful for the NARUC team for the hard work that they did in their substantive comments. In addition, the Organization of PJM States Incorporated, that's OPSI, and the National Association of State Energy Offices, or NASIO, also prepared substantive comments in response to the petition. These substantive comments also represent the board, as the board is a member of those organizations, and we're very grateful for those filings. But given the board's particular concerns, staff worked to prepare comments that specifically address the board's view on net metering. We made 4 arguments in this proceeding. First, we argued that the petition should be dismissed due to a series of procedural deficiencies. Second, staff argued that the petition was an unjustified departure from FERC's prior precedent on net metering. Further, staff argued that FERC lacks jurisdiction under the Federal Power Act to regulate net metering. Finally, staff argued that the board has that jurisdiction and has properly exercised its jurisdiction for 20 years to promote net metering in New Jersey. These comments were not easy drafting, and I could not have completed them without the support of BPU staff, and that is Joe DeLosa, Rachel Boylan, Scott Hunter, and our DAG, Brandon Simmons. Staff feels that these comments strongly support the board's position. We understand that the petitioner has since responded to our protest and to others, but today we are asking that the board accept these comments, and we're recommending that the board ratify the comments at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. 2B, Cynthia, another FERC action here.
Sorry, temporary unmute issue. So 2B or not 2B?
That is the question.
It is. And so this case involves a return on equity, or ROE, for the abandoned Potomac Appalachian Transmission Highline, or PATH project. The PATH project was first identified in 2007 and planned as a 765 kV line running from West Virginia into Maryland, with an estimated cost of over $2 billion. PJM assigned construction responsibility to Allegheny Power and AEP, who formed a joint venture known as PATH. The PATH proceeded with design, engineering, and procurement for the PATH project until that project was ultimately abandoned. On September 28th of 2012, PATH filed for abandonment costs associated with the project, and the board intervened in that proceeding, which continued until a decision in January of 2017, where FERC found that PATH's 10.4% base ROE was unjust and unreasonable. FERC, and that is the commissioners of FERC, not staff, further determined that a base ROE of 8.11% was just and reasonable for the PATH project. So that was FERC's determination. As you would expect, PATH was not in favor of FERC's decision and sought rehearing, but ultimately FERC denied that rehearing, in part maintaining that the 10.4% base ROE was unjust and unreasonable. As to the methodology FERC used for determining that an 8.11% ROE was just and reasonable, FERC directed parties to submit supplemental briefs. In initial briefs, the joint parties with whom the board has filed applied FERC's precedent and arrived at a base ROE of actually 8.0%. But we acknowledge that FERC's 8.11% would be acceptable. After initial briefs, FERC issued a new order revising its ROE methodology for the MISO transmission owners. FERC granted an extension for parties in this PATH proceeding to file reply briefs regarding PATH's ROE. Staff joined with the joint parties and that the board had previously briefed this proceeding with. And in reply briefs, staff determined that applying the changed methodology just confirms FERC's 8.11% ROE. So it's not a dramatic change. The shift was in the board's briefs from an 8.0 to an 8.11% ROE. Therefore, staff proceeded with this reply brief, and we took this position to FERC, which is consistent with the Energy Master Plan and the board's position on transmission ROEs overall. Today, we are recommending ratification of staff's action to join this brief on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And wrap it up with C, Cynthia.
All right. Last but not least, staff is continuing to advance the board's interest in the minimum offer price rule, or MOPR proceeding, through the compliance phase. So by order dated December 19th of 2019, FERC substantially expanded PJM's minimum offer price rule to cover all state-sponsored resources in PJM's capacity market. FERC required PJM to submit a compliance filing to address the auction timeline and revise the tariff to implement FERC's dramatically expanded MOPR. PJM made the required compliance filing on March 18th of 2020, and the board responded in May. In addition, by order dated April 16th, FERC denied rehearing to several parties, including the board. In denying the board's rehearing request, FERC affirmed that its definition of a state subsidy subject to the MOPR included the default service auctions used by many restructured states, like the board's Basic Generation Service Auction, or BGS auction. FERC required PJM to submit a further compliance filing to address the rehearing order. PJM made that filing on June 1st, comments were due on June 22nd, and staff, acting on behalf of the board, filed comments on the compliance filing that noted the continued auction timeline issues, as well as PJM's proposal for addressing BGS auction. Notably, staff indicated that this matter is an issue pending before the courts, as the board has filed its appeal in May. Today, staff recommends ratification of the comments filed on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
This is one area that I think many of us are hot under the collar about. And this constant pushing has to continue. And as I mentioned before, the MOPR has the opportunity to, or has the potential to harm some of our renewable energy portfolio, harm it from increasing the prices. And it's unacceptable to New Jersey and to many other states. And OPSI, the organization of PJM states, voted to oppose it, and so on. And it's a state rights issue as we view it, where the FERC is trying to dictate our capacity market and how we should generate energy. And that's not their purview. So this is going to be a long battle, and one that we will periodically revisit and keep everyone up to date on. If there are no other comments, Take the roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Cynthia. All right, that brings
you.
us to cable television and the merger regarding Altice. Luanda,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
And I'd also like to wish a happy belated birthday and happy future birthday to both President Fiordaliso and Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm also a July birthday, so getting it in. Item 3A.
That's why we're all such nice people, because we're born under the same sign. Is that right?
Very true. Very true.
Okay. All right. Got you.
Agenda item 3A, as you stated, involves the petition of Altice USA and Service Electric seeking approval of the transfer and purchase of assets from Service Electric Cable TV to Altice USA, with Altice USA becoming the franchise cable provider for Service Electric's customers.
Did we lose her?
Sorry. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Altice USA is a broadband communications and video services provider, serving through its various subsidiaries approximately 4.9 million residential and business customers across 21 states. Altice currently provides video broadband and voice services, both fixed and mobile, in approximately 178 New Jersey communities. Service Electric, headquartered in Sparta, New Jersey, is a provider of cable TV, broadband, and voice service in Sussex, Warren, and Morris counties, serving over 19,000 subscribers in 28 communities in the northwestern portion of the state. The joint petition, initially filed on March 5th and amended on April 2nd, would allow for the transfer of cable TV franchises for the 28 communities currently served by Service Electric to Altice. The transfers are part of a planned transaction whereby, under the terms of an asset purchase agreement between the joint parties, Altice will purchase and be assigned substantially all of the assets of Service Electric for $150 million in cash. The transaction will extend Altice's footprint into the communities currently served by Service Electric, and the petitioners contend that it will allow for the provision of Altice's high-quality video offerings and state-of-the-art entertainment platforms to the homes and businesses of the 28 communities in Service Electric's territory. The petitioners characterize the transaction structure as straightforward, involving no telecommunications assets or licenses, no use of either of the joint parties' assets to finance any aspect of the transaction, and requiring no other regulatory approvals other than that of the board. Following the transfer of the cable systems and board authorizations, Altice, through its subsidiary, CSCTKR, will become the franchised entity serving the New Jersey communities covered by the petition. The petitioners assert the transaction will bring substantial benefits to Service Electric customers, including advanced and innovative service offerings currently not available to Service Electric customers, such as smart Wi-Fi, internet security, service protection, Altice One, and cloud-based DVR. Its suite of video tiers, broadband, telephone, mobile services, and news channels, the extension of its Altice Advantage internet program, offering broadband services to households with K through 12 and college students, and Altice's advanced networks, faster broadband speeds, pro-consumer mobile offerings, and more local news. Altice anticipates the integration of the Service Electric operations into the Altice Optimum footprint, and that customers will benefit from the new product suites offered, as well as an enhanced customer experience, such as self-service tools and Altice's interactive voice uh, product. Altice asserts its commitment to fulfill all obligations under Service Electric's current franchise agreements. It has also stated it has no current plans to close or relocate any Service Electric local offices or facilities at this time and will retain the Sparta headquarters location. Altice also asserted that it has offered employment to the existing Service Electric employees to continue as Altice employees following the transaction. On March 27th, the board issued an order designating Commissioner Shivakula as the presiding officer to establish and modify schedules, decide all motions, and address the case status subsequent to ratification. Within the order, a deadline of April 14th was set for motions to intervene in pro hoc vice. However, no motions were received. Commissioner Shivakula subsequently issued a pre-hearing order on May 14, establishing a discovery schedule and setting a public comment period concluding on July 1st, 2020. Subject to the procedural schedule, the petitioners provided written responses to 2 rounds of written requests by staff and rate counsel, and public comments were accepted through July 1, 2020. The comments were received from both rate counsel as well as approximately 80 residents in the Service Electric territory, which also included several municipal officials, including mayors of Knowlton, Hope, Blairstown, Frankfurt Township, Hardwick, and the township manager for Hardison Township, and also the congressman for the 5th Legislative District, Congressman Josh Gottheimer. The comments generally focused around concerns of Altice expanding their services in the Service Electric territory, and requested that Altice provide a affirmative commitment to do so. On June 30th, Altice filed correspondence with the board indicating their commitment to provide a expanded broadband product throughout the Service Electric territory of 1 gig. In addition, they also affirmed their commitment to provide the Altice Advantage Internet service as well, helping to assist customers in the Service Electric territory. They also committed to reviewing the existing franchise commitments in the Service Electric territory with specificity to those franchises which are currently expired and must be renewed. Altice also committed to lowering the homes per mile figure in those towns where it is 35 to 25 homes per mile in an effort to assist in expanding service in the Service Electric territory. Rate Council also filed comments and recommended that while the board should approve the petition, recommended that several areas should be addressed in conditions which relate to affordable broadband internet access, a prohibition on data caps, a prohibition on throttling or blocking internet traffic, a commitment to upgrade services, the provision of free internet to schools, libraries, and nonprofits and municipal buildings, conditions on network reliability and public safety, conditions on service quality, conditions on programming diversity, conditions on employment retention, and several conditions related to concerns regarding the pandemic with respect to services for distance learning, provision of emergency internet access, and the continuation of billing and termination procedures to assist customers during the moratorium on broadband and phone connections. The petition is required to be reviewed under the various board statutes and rules which relate to such transactions. Mergers are generally governed under New Jersey Statute 48:5A 38A, which provides that no cable company shall combine, merge, or consolidate with or acquire control of another organization without first obtaining the approval of the board, which shall be granted only after an investigation and finding that such proposed merger is in the public interest. Petitions must also conform with the filing requirements found in NJAC 14:17-6.18. Based on the review of the record provided, the discovery provided, the documentation and correspondence, and the recommendations of staff, we are persuaded that the information in the record supports a finding that the proposed transaction is in the public interest and should be approved, subject to certain conditions, which will ensure that the public benefits which are referenced in the petition will be provided to the customers of the service electric territory. Board staff therefore recommends approval, subject to the conditions in the proposed board order.
So moved.
Comments? Questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I wonder, Lawanda, if you could go into a little bit more specificity regarding concerns the mayor's expressed, because I had been approached by some of the elected officials in that area, and I was just curious as to what their concerns were.
Sure. The congressman submitted comments indicating that the constituencies that he serves particularly in the service electric towns, are concerned about the provision of high-speed internet in his service areas. As part of his comments, he had asked the board to direct Altice to establish to committing to meet specific minimum internet speeds and to work with the mayors to address certain coverage gaps in the towns. The other mayors also had similar concerns regarding areas in their towns that either that had pockets of that lacked internet service and were looking for an expansion of those services as well. Uh, it's our belief that the commitments of Altice to voluntarily provide the 1 gig of internet service uh, over a period of time to those towns and to that service territory will greatly assist in expanding the service in those towns. In addition, their commitment to lower the homes per mile figure from 35 to 25 homes per mile in establishing the current line extension policies in the town should also assist in expanding the levels of service in the town because unfortunately because that area of the state is very densely populated, it tends to be very cost prohibitive to extend service for residents. And we believe that lowering that homes per mile figure should assist in helping to extend the service to areas that previously did not or were not able to obtain service.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you very much.
Mr. President, I think Lavanda, you didn't mean to say it was densely populated. You meant the other way around, right?
Yes, I'm
Sparsely.
sorry. Thank you,
Yeah,
Commissioner.
yeah. I just want to. Yeah, this is the
I
problem.
haven't had my caffeine yet. I apologize.
Yeah, okay, no, I just want to correct that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the problem is that it's very rural and it's much less populated than other more urban or suburban areas. So because it's much more rural is the reason for the prohibitive cost. Thank you.
Commissioner Shivakula, thank you for your work on this particular filing and so on. Sometimes these can be cumbersome and so on. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have a couple of comments to make here, and the merger. I'll vote for the merger, and so on. One of the things that we have always been concerned about, because basically we have very little authority over cable television and telecom in general anymore. The FCC kind of oversees that, and so our primary focus is customer service, and that has been always a concern of not only me, but I'm sure my colleagues. And I want to be assured of the fact that, Lawanda, that your division keeps a watchful eye on Altice, keeps a watchful eye to ensure the fact that they are providing the best possible service to the customers that they are serving. We require nothing less than that. And it is something that we can really get in crosshairs here if that service is not provided. I've said this 100 times. I want people to get what they pay for. I'm not asking for them to get any more or any less, but I want them to get what they pay for. And I think we have to keep our eye on Altice and others to ensure the fact that their customers are getting what they pay for. And we will be very vigilant. And I know you and your team, Lawanda, is very vigilant in pursuing that. For the most part, our utilities have been very cooperative. Telecom, cable, electric, gas, water, during this health emergency that we have been experiencing and continue to experience. Some were a little stubborn. And those who were a little stubborn, I have to say I was not particularly happy about. And they know who I'm talking about. And I expect cooperation because I consider if most of our utilities are willing to cooperate without us ordering cooperation, it makes life a little nicer and a little simpler for everybody. And we've tried to promote that type of environment. So the point is, let's cooperate, continue to cooperate, continue to assist those people who are finding that they're having a tough time during this crisis without hesitation. We're not only loyal to our customers when the goose is fat, we're loyal to our customers when that goose loses weight too. And I expect nothing less than that commitment to consumers. And that is extremely important. And don't make us order certain things that we don't have to. There are any other comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
President Fernandez, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for those comments. I just wanted to add that to address some of the what you were stating, there are several monitoring provisions in the order, which will help staff to ensure that Altice continues to provide the service which you stated, which they are required to provide under our statutory provisions today. And so staff will, of course, continue to monitor Altice's service in the service electric territory and ensure that they are continuing to meet all the statutory requirements as well.
Good, thank you, Lawanda, for that. Now roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you very much, Lawanda,
Thank you, and everyone have a happy 4th.
and you too. There's nothing under telecommunications, nothing under water. We'll be addressing a water issue later on in the agenda under the late starter. Nothing under reliability and security. Customer assistance, Julie. Wait a minute now, Julie. It's not a.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry, my computer was going a little iffy.
No,
there.
that's all right. I'm disappointed. It's not a billing dispute.
No, it's not. Not this time. Not this time.
Didn't anybody tell you we only address those? No, I'm teasing.
No, I think we need a little break from those.
I agree.
Okay. This morning, this matter requests the board's approval to file the adoption of amendments to board's rules at NJAC 14:3-3A. The amendments covered by the adoption provide greater clarity in the regulations that all utilities regulated by the board are prohibited from discontinuing service to customers using life-sustaining equipment upon the utility receiving proper verification that life-sustaining equipment is in use in the customer's premises. As you recall, on July 5th, 2019, Governor Murphy signed Linda's law, which prohibits electric utilities from discontinuing service to customers using life-sustaining equipment with verification of use of equipment. The amendments to NJAC 14:3 were proposed by staff and approved for publication in the New Jersey Register for comment by the board at its October 25th, 2019 agenda meeting. The amendments were published for comment on December 2nd, 2019. The issues involved in this adoption concerns the board's rules limiting utility shutoffs when a medical emergency exists and also broadens the requirement.
Did we lose you there, Julie?
looks like, this is Christine. It looks like she's still on. Julie,
No.
there you go.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
I left off again, huh? It keeps going in and out. I don't know. Okay. I don't know how far we got cut off, but the proposed amendments were proposed by staff and approved for publication in the New Jersey Register for comment by the board at its October 25th agenda meeting. The amendments were published for comment on December 2nd, 2019. The issues involved in this adoption concerns the board's rules limiting utility shutoffs when a medical emergency exists, and also broadens the requirements for restoring service when an unknown account or master meter is disconnected and there is an existence of a medical emergency. Further amendments require that utilities develop customer outreach plans which educate the public and customers on the procedures and guidelines to qualify and apply for medical certification status to be distributed to all customers quarterly. Commenters vote for and against the changes were vocal. Comments were received from Atlantic City Electric Company, New Jersey American Water Company, Jersey Central Power and Light, New Jersey Natural Gas, and the Division of Rate Counsel. The amendments are, first one, NJAC 14:3-3A 1.1 sets forth definitions for unknown accounts and licensed medical professionals. Unknown accounts refers to an account where there is no customer of record, yet there is active consumption on the meter. Licensed medical professional refers to a healthcare provider with prescriptive authority. Second, NJAC 14:3-3A.2I increases the residential service discontinuance period for medical certifications from 60 days to 90 days initially. Comments were received questioning the board's procedure of extending the medical emergency timeframe an additional 30 days. The board's response is staff's response. The extension granted for good cause pursuant to NJC 14:3-3A.2J will begin on the day that the prior 90-day period expired. At that point, the customer would notify board staff of the request for an extension, and board staff would notify the utility. Additionally, the utility may provide the board with further information regarding the requested extension for good cause, but the final decision would be up to board staff, who would then notify the utility of the decision. Next, NJAC 14:3-3AI2 broadens the scope of permissible authors of the required written statement by replacing the word physician with licensed medical professional. Comments were received requesting a specified list of licensed medical professionals. The board appreciates the utilities' comments and considered the requested approach in its deliberations. In the interest of providing broad access to medical professionals, the board determined that the term prescriptive authority would ensure that individuals with access to nurse practitioners and physician's assistants would have greater ability to retain their utility services, and sees no need for alterations to the definition at this time. Next, 14:3-3AJ amends the requirement of producing a physician's note to require a document from a licensed medical professional. Comments were received requesting that the licensed professional's statement be required to include specific content. Staff notes the comment that disclosure of a person's medical diagnosis without certain safeguards could result in that disclosure being deemed a HIPAA violation or could inhibit the provision of medical documentation necessary to protect the customer. Staff feels that this concern is already addressed within HIPAA, along with the utility's current procedures when requesting medical documentation, and will protect the customer's confidential information. Next, NJAC 14:3-3AK broadens the requirements for restoring service when an unknown account is disconnected and a medical emergency exists. It requires that service be restored immediately and the customer be allowed 14 days to apply for service and an additional 7 days following service activation date, or 21 days following notification to the utility of the medical emergency, whichever is later, to submit a medical certification to the utility by a licensed medical professional. Comments were received questioning the 21-day period. Staff notes that the board appreciates the utilities' comments, but feels that a 14 plus 7 day period of time may be necessary for an individual within this situation to adequately apply for service in compliance with each utility's policies and procedures. Customer safety with regard to medical situation situations outweighs the utility's concerns. Furthermore, NJAC 14:3-3A1 already contains provisions regarding the concerns expressed by the utility in this comment. Next amendment, 14:3-3AL, broadens the requirements of restoring service when a master meter is disconnected and a medical emergency exists, requiring the utility, upon notification of the existence of the medical emergency by the tenant, to restore service for a period of 7 days to allow the customer of record to resolve the payment issue and to provide the tenant with time to make alternative arrangements. Comments were received recommending that the rule include or make reference to the provisions that excuses utility compliance in the event of an emergency or if the customer refuses or fails to provide required information. Staff response, the board appreciates the utility's comment in this situation. NJAC 14:3 currently addresses emergency situations, and the service will remain on pending outcome of dispute, and notes that the intention of this rule is to maintain service when a medical emergency exists. If no medical certification is submitted within the allotted time frame, the utility is within its rights to proceed with normal collection activity. Next, NJAC 14:3-3A4D amends the requirement of electric and gas utilities to solicit information from their customers about the presence of life-sustaining equipment from a semi-annual basis to a quarterly basis at minimum. Comments were received requesting that water utilities be included. Staff recognizes that Rate Council makes a valid point and will consider this in a future rate-making proceeding. The next one, NJAC 14:3-3A4E, sets forth the requirement that all utilities shall develop customer outreach plans that educate the public and customers on the procedures and guidelines to qualify and apply for medical certification status to be distributed to all customers quarterly. Comments were received requesting specific guidance for the utilities outreach plan. Staff response, the utilities are required to create their own outreach procedures and/or programs. Some potential options include, but are not limited to, email statements on bills or separate mailing. The board appreciates the utilities comments, but the board's intent is to provide additional protections consistent with the law and to strengthen its rules regarding additional protections consistent and in order with the law and in order to better address consumer needs. Staff's recommendation, the amendments will help ensure that residential customers are further protected from discontinuance of service when an emergent medical situation exists within their premises. Staff recommends that the board adopt and approve the filing of the adoption with OAL on July 17, 2020 for publication in the New Jersey Register and become effective on August 17, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Of course, this is our answer to Linda's Law.
Yes.
And we all remember that woman who died in Newark. And I think we've always referred to that as the perfect storm, because everything that went wrong, or everything that could go wrong, did go wrong. And it's sad, very sad, that a human being had to lose their life. Hopefully, this is another step in making this type of thing more difficult to happen, and that's really our goal here. And we encourage anyone who does have a medical situation that requires that their power not be shut off, please let your utility company know. Don't hesitate to correspond with them. It's to save your life. It's not to intrude in any way on your health condition, but it's to save your life. And that's what we're trying to do. And Julie, great job, you and your team. And let's hope that this minimizes, if not eliminates, any more Lindas.
Thank
Any
you,
oth-
Commissioner. Thank you, President. I'd like to also recognize DAG Terrell Klein, Richard Lambert of my staff, and Susan Patnoa, and Jim Boyd, who's no longer with us, and getting these regs together and off the ground and moving.
Great. Thank you very much, Julie. Any other comments or questions? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Julie. That brings us to clean energy and wow, Kelly, only 2 items this time.
I know. I'm sorry about that. We'll try to do
Okay.
better next time.
All right, but you don't have to be sorry. Let's do 8A.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners. For item 8A, staff is requesting the board agree to the extension of the United States Department of Energy 2019-2020 State Energy Program, extending that program for 1 year. This would change the end date of that agreement from June 30th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. The U.S. Department of Energy provides federal financial assistance and technical support to states for energy programs. To be eligible for this support, a state must submit an annual application to the U.S. Department of Energy. On March 30th, 2020, staff submitted an extension request to the U.S. Department of Energy requesting a 1-year extension to the SEP FY19 program. This extension request was based upon a loss of personnel during year 1 of the 3-year program cycle, changes in division resources due to active implementation of the Clean Energy Act, and more recently, the COVID-19 pandemic. On May 5th, 2020, U.S. Department of Energy approved this request and extended the program to June 30th, 2021, and board staff recommends that the board approve this extension.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And that brings us to 8B and the clean energy budget extension. Kelly.
Thank you. For item 8B, the board approved the New Jersey Clean Energy Program's fiscal year budget 2020 budget through a June 21st, 2019 board order, which was trued up and revised through a January 8th, 2020 board order and revised for a second time through an April 6th board order. On April 14th, 2020, Governor Murphy signed into law a bill that extended the state's current fiscal year to September 30th, 2020. In order to align the New Jersey Clean Energy Program's fiscal year with the state's fiscal year, staff will be proposing to extend the New Jersey Clean Energy Program FY20 for an additional 3 months through September 30th, 2020. Board staff is currently developing recommendations for that proposed 5th quarter FY20 extension for the board's consideration at the July 15th agenda meeting. To accommodate this development and the opportunity for public comment on the full 5th quarter extension, Division of Clean Energy today recommends that the board approve a no-cost extension of FY20 programs and budget for the period between July 1st and July 15th, 2020, to allow for programs to continue until the board considers the 3rd revision of the FY20 programs and budget on July 15th. Staff further recommends that the board direct the utilities to continue to make monthly payments to the Clean Energy Program Trust Fund in accordance with the April 6th, 2020 board order and consistent with current policies and procedures. Staff finally recommends that the board authorize the entities currently delivering NJCEP programs to continue delivering the programs consistent with approved program plans and budgets, and for those entities to enter into or extend any contracts required to continue delivering the programs as authorized by the Division of Clean Energy.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly.
Unknown caller.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Brings us down to 9A, the miscellaneous item that we discussed in closed session. We will be taking, as I mentioned before, a vote on this. And if Deputy Attorney General Brandon Simmons wants to say something here, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, for the record, Brandon Simmons, Deputy Attorney General. This morning, the Division of Law is asking the board to ratify its consent to the recommendation given during executive session.
Thank you, Brandon. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve Division of Law's recommendation to accept the terms of settlement consistent with the discussion in executive session, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you very much, Brandon, for your guidance on this. That brings us to late starter A, Mike Kammer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Morning.
morning.
This matter applies to, this recommendation applies to the water industry, the wastewater industry, and the gas and electric industry. The board and Governor Murphy have taken a number of unprecedented actions since the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus disease of 2019, COVID-19, to be a public health emergency of international concern in January 2020. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Murphy has issued a number of executive orders which were intended to limit the spread of COVID-19 by among all other things, requiring that the state's business community allow their employees to work from home. The board requested that the state's gas and electric utilities suspend service shutoffs due to the pandemic and issued a joint statement along with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, asking that the state's water utilities suspend service shutoffs due to the pandemic. Additionally, the board issued an order temporarily suspending non-essential construction. The state's gas, electric, investor-owned water and wastewater utilities are potentially incurring increased expenses in response to Governor Murphy's executive orders and the board's directives relative to COVID-19. Examples of such expenses include increased overtime by field employees, the purchase of personal protection equipment, increased security costs, the purchase of computers, tablets, laptops, and additional software licenses that allow employees to work from home, and increased treatment expenses by the water and wastewater utilities. Board policy is to allow utilities to include in rates only those expenses that are known and measurable at the time of a base rate case. Given the extraordinary nature of the COVID-19 pandemic and the unprecedented actions taken by both Governor Murphy and the board in response to the pandemic, staff recommends that the board issue an order which authorizes the affected utilities to create a regulatory assets by allowing them to defer on their books and records any incremental costs that are directly attributable to COVID-19. Allowing the deferral of incremental COVID-19 related costs will allow the utilities to seek recovery of these deferred incremental COVID-19 related expenses in a future base rate case. Staff further recommends that each utility establish a COVID-19 that establishes a COVID-19 regulatory asset account be directed to file quarterly reports of the COVID-19 related costs and offsets, and that all affected utilities intending to seek recovery of any deferred COVID-19 related expenses be directed to file a petition with the board by December 31st, 2021, or within 60 days, December 31st, 2020, or within 60 days of the close of the regulatory asset period, whichever is later. The board has previously allowed the creation of regulatory assets and deferred accounting treatments of certain expenses for its possible future rate recovery due to the extraordinary circumstances such as the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy. And I want to thank Megan Lupo and Lonnie Saldani for all their hard work on this.
Do I have a motion?
I will move it.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
you know, I'm going to vote for this, but I do have a couple of concerns. My understanding is that that in addition to the expenditures for the additional expenditures related to the response of the COVID virus, what also included in this deferred item will be the lost revenue from bad debts and delayed payments. That could be a pretty big number. And, you know, I'm concerned that there could be a significant rate impact, even if this is amortized over a number of years. And I do think it's really important to make sure that we audit these numbers very carefully when we review the books of the utilities requesting this item.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. President,
Yes.
first of all, Mike, you were the guy to lead this, that's for sure. You've got a history of how we've handled these things in the past and, you know, sort of giving some certainty to all of our utilities that they know what we're going to do and they don't face, you know, is this an unexpected cost that I'm not going to be able to recover. I just want to remind maybe you can better remind the board that creating a regulatory asset does not add this into rate base. And therefore, there is no return on what is put in that regulatory asset.
That's correct. It will be addressed in a future base rate case, and the prudency of the expenses will be addressed in a future base rate case. And anything that's found to be imprudent or not prudent will be disallowed. And to Commissioner Gordon's point, when we set rates, we usually include a 3-year average of uncollectibles. So any utility that even without this action by the board, any utility that files for rates in the next couple of years could potentially include the increase on collectibles related to the pandemic in the 3-year average. But we are going to be looking at that very closely, and the energy utilities have the ability to offer assistance programs to their customers that unfortunately is not available to water customers. But Suez and New Jersey American do participate in New Jersey Shares, which is a one-time payment assistance program for people who have fallen on hard times for any reason. So we are going to encourage all of the utilities to take advantage of any assistance or grant programs or federal assistance that they could muster to offset the impact to ratepayers as a result of the pandemic.
And I'd just like to add one point to the fact there's no, you know, like assistance program, like there's LIHEAP, which is the Energy Assistance Program. I will be bringing a resolution to Newark to have Congress consider creating a low-income utility assistance program. Came up in a discussion with some of the NERI seminars, webinars that they've had, and several other commissioners. We kind of put our heads together and said, well, we're calling it the wrong thing. And Nasuka has already, all the rate council people, they've already sent in a resolution to this effect. So always looking for, trying to get water and wastewater to catch up with the rest of the other utilities.
Yeah, water is an essential service. I found out after Superstorm Sandy, when I lost both power and water for 6 very long days, that it was very easy to live without the electricity, but it was next to impossible to live without water. So water is really the essential service. So we need to start looking into assistance programs for water and wastewater customers.
Concur, and thanks for bringing that up, Mariana and Mike. It's the only utility that we have that our life depends on, and without it, well, you know what happens. Good point. Any other comments or questions? All right, let's do the roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mike. I
Thank
again
you.
want to wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July. And we will see you at the next meeting if there are no. Yes.
President, one last thing I didn't mention at the beginning.
Sure.
And it occurred to me that we also have another staff member who's leaving, Tom Walker, who will not be around for our next board meeting, who's served in a number of different capacities, that's going to be leaving board service as well, I understand.
That is correct, and I was going to make that announcement at our next board meeting. I think we have Tom for another 2 weeks, but yes, you're absolutely correct. It invaluable. He's what we call in baseball a utility player. He can play many positions.
Yes.
And so on, and will be sorely missed. But again, we'll be furthering his career, and the wonderful thing I think we can all take comfort in. It's an ongoing process. Obviously, you hire, people leave, people this, but that the training and the experience that people have at the board really makes them very marketable to other industries and to other entities. And that's something we can certainly be proud of. And I am proud that all of us provide that opportunity to our staff, and that they do learn and that they do move on to in some cases, positions where they're advancing their skill. And Tom mentioned the fact that he wants to build things again. He's an engineer, and he has that desire to do so. But thanks for bringing that up.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would just like to say, while I'm going to miss Tom at the BPU, I'm looking forward to working with him at New Jersey Transit. So I feel blessed that we're going to have such a capable person building things at New Jersey Transit, where we need to rebuild our infrastructure.
Yeah, you got a good one there.
Yep, I certainly do. There are no other items or comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have to vote.
All
Did we
those,
I don't think we voted on the last item, did we?
Yes,
Yeah,
we did.
Yes, we did.
Okay, sorry. I'm on to working on something else. I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you, reporter. I miss seeing you. We're adjourned.